Have you ever watched the news and felt like you're getting a story that's completely different from what you see with your own eyes? The media wants you to believe that Donald Trump is a chaotic amateur. They want you to think his every move was a blunder or a sign of incompetence. They're playing checkers, but what if he's been playing 5D chess this whole time? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the brilliant strategic moves that the media still can't see, from building a wall that was about more than just bricks, to freeing our economy from the shackles of pointless regulations. Stick around because we're about to show you the real game being played. Let's start with the wall. To this day, the mainstream media talks about the southern border wall as a simplistic, failed promise. They flash images of construction gaps and obsess over one question. Did he build a wall across the entire 2,000-mile border? When the answer is no, they slam the book shut. See, he failed. But that's the checkers move. They can't see the board. They don't want to see the board. They miss the whole point. The 5D chess move wasn't just about laying concrete from sea to shining sea. It was about changing the entire dynamic of border security and international negotiation. First, let's talk about what actually got built. During Trump's term, about 458 miles of a new border wall system were constructed. The media dismisses this, saying most of it just replaced old, dilapidated fencing. But that was a key part of the strategy. It was a crucial upgrade, replacing useless, dilapidated barriers with a system that was actually effective. It's like they're criticizing a general for replacing muskets with modern rifles because they're both technically guns. It's a deliberate refusal to see the strategic upgrade for what it was. But the real genius, the move they still can't comprehend, is that the wall was never just a physical object. It was a tool of leverage. It was the ultimate bargaining chip. Because of the pressure created by the wall, President Trump was able to secure a powerful new policy, the Migrant Protection Protocols, or Remain in Mexico. For the first time, the United States had a policy that required many asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their cases were processed. Previous administrations had talked and negotiated, but none had the leverage or the sheer willpower to get an agreement like this. While its overall effectiveness is debated by some, the policy was a core component of the effort to address the crisis at the border and reduce the incentive for meritless asylum claims. The media saw a construction project. Trump saw a lever to fundamentally reshape immigration policy. While they were counting miles of steel, he was checkmating the entire broken asylum system. That is the 5D move they refused to see. Next, let's talk about the economy. If you only listened to the legacy media, you'd think the Trump years were a 4-year giveaway to big corporations. They focused on every single regulation he rolled back, painting it as a step toward a dystopian future. They framed it as liberating Americans from the tyranny of clean air. They completely, and perhaps intentionally, misunderstood the strategy. They see government as the solution to every problem. Trump understood that all too often, government is the problem. The bloated bureaucracy, the endless miles of red tape. These are the things that suffocate innovation and kill the dreams of small business owners. So, he made a simple promise. For every one new regulation, 2 old ones had to be eliminated. The media scoffed. They called it a gimmick, but it was a declaration of war against the administrative state. It was a philosophical statement that Washington's default answer would no longer be no. While the administration claimed to have far exceeded this goal, the deeper truth was about the signal it sent through the entire economy. And what happened in this new environment of economic liberation? The results speak for themselves. Before the global pandemic brought the world to a halt, the American economy was booming. We achieved the lowest unemployment rate in a half century, with record low unemployment for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans. And perhaps the most stunning achievement of all, one that the DC establishment said was impossible. America became a net energy exporter in 2019 for the first time in 16 years. For the first time since the 1950s, we were no longer beholden to foreign nations for our energy needs. This wasn't just an economic victory, it was a national security triumph. The media saw him cutting rules. Trump saw himself cutting the chains that held the American economy back. And he unleashed a lion. Nowhere was the media's checkers-level analysis more obvious than in foreign policy. They used words like chaotic, erratic, and isolationist to describe his every move on the world stage. They were horrified that he didn't speak in the carefully crafted, poll-tested platitudes of the globalist elite. They saw chaos. What they missed was calculated, deliberate strength. Let's start with NATO. For decades, American presidents would go to Brussels, politely ask our allies to please consider paying their fair share for their own defense. And for decades, nothing changed. America footed the bill. Trump came in and didn't ask. He demanded. He told them bluntly that the United States would not be the world's piggy bank anymore. The media and the European elites had a collective meltdown. They shrieked that he was destroying the alliance. But what happened? Under his pressure, NATO allies began to significantly increase their defense spending, accelerating a trend that had begun before his term. He didn't weaken NATO. He forced it to become stronger and more capable by making members finally take their own security seriously. They saw a bully. He was an accountant demanding the books be balanced. Then there's the Middle East. For generations, the so-called experts insisted there could be no peace in the Middle East without first solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Trump looked at that failed 70-year-old strategy and threw it in the trash. He went around the experts and brokered the Abraham Accords. These were historic normalization agreements between Israel and Arab nations like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, something thought impossible for a generation. He proved the experts wrong and redrew the map of peace in the Middle East, an achievement the media has tried its best to ignore. And finally, North Korea. The media lost their minds when he agreed to meet with Kim Jong-un. They screamed that he was legitimizing a brutal dictator. But the expert's strategy of strategic patience had resulted in North Korea building a nuclear arsenal. Trump tried something different. He engaged in personal, face-to-face diplomacy. And what was the result? After the meeting was announced, North Korea declared it would suspend its nuclear and long-range intercontinental ballistic missile (ICBM) tests. That pause in the most dangerous tests lasted through his presidency, and ICBM tests only resumed years after he left office. They saw a photo op. He saw a way to de-escalate a nuclear crisis. So, what do you see? The media's narrative of a bumbling amateur? Or the moves of a master strategist playing on a different level? The wall wasn't just a wall, it was leverage. Deregulation wasn't just about helping corporations, it was about liberating the entire American economy. His supposedly chaotic foreign policy wasn't about alienating allies, it was about demanding respect and forging a new path to peace. The results of this strategy before a global pandemic changed everything were clear. Record low unemployment, energy independence, and new peace deals in the Middle East. These things didn't happen by accident. They were the product of a leader who was willing to shatter the old rules, ignore the talking heads on television, and play the game his own way. The media is still playing checkers, trying to make sense of the last move. But Trump was, and is, playing 5D chess. If you see the 5D chess moves that the media refuses to acknowledge, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more content that tells the real story, and share this with someone who needs to see the real game being played. Let us know in the comments which 5D chess move you think was his most brilliant.